Hello and welcome to another edition of Spotlight on New Castle County here at NCC TV, where it's all local all the time. Today we have a very special guest with us. I'd like to welcome County Recorder of Deeds, Michael Kozakowski.
Well, you're quite welcome, Melly. Nice to see you, and I'm so glad to be here in this beautiful NCC studio. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I have a list of questions I'd like to get through with you today.
Sure.
First of all, your office oversees the documents associated with real estate and other matters in New Castle County. Can you give us a general definition of your office's functions?
Sure. The Recorder of Deeds office is the repository for all land transaction records. And of course, the main documents that we record are mortgages, assignments, satisfactions, and deeds, which makes up about 90%. We receive, we record, we process, and we deliver the documents to the real estate industry. And of course, the real estate industry represents the property owner, whether it's commercial or residential properties.
Okay, and are your duties delineated in state code or county code?
Actually, the Recorder of Deeds, along with the Register of Wills, Clerk of the Peace, and the Sheriff's Department are constitutional offices, and they are in Title IX, Chapter 96 of the Delaware Code. And if you were to go to Title IX, Chapter 96, my responsibilities are outlined in 23 sections, 10 pages.
Okay. And how would you best describe the mission and culture of the Recorder of Deeds office?
Well, this is rather interesting because when I became your Recorder of Deeds, and I say your Recorder of Deeds is because I am the gatekeeper. The citizens of New Castle County have elected me to oversee the department. And of course, I brought a private sector mentality, okay, which 32 years in the industry. And pretty much, I'm a cooperational style manager. And I do like to delegate, I do entrust people, and I empower people. And some of the changes that we've made since 2002, the culture today is definitely one that I think not only any constituent that comes to the office, but any primary business organization that has done business with New Castle County Recorder of Deeds will see that the culture is very receptive to not only putting the customer first, but my staff also realizes how important it is to strive for continuous improvement.
Okay, that actually ties into my next question, which was how important is customer service in your department?
Well, it's first and foremost. And of course, I like to emphasize the fact that a quote from Ray Kroc, the owner and founder of McDonald's, and of course the brand name would be Mickey D's, right? And he said that if you work just for money, you'll never get it to work, okay? But if you enjoy and love what you're doing, and you always put the customer first, success is yours. Okay. And you know, I realize that coming from the private sector and seeing how important customer service is, but there's actually four focal areas that I like to focus on in the Recorder of Deeds office, and that is customer service, continuous improvement, fiscal responsibility, and educational opportunity. I'm hoping we have an opportunity today where I can emphasize to you what those 5 focal points of education are that we have in the Recorder's office.
Okay. Can you give us some examples of how people would come into contact with the Recorder of Deeds?
Well, one, I believe that most of us that own property realize that you come in contact with the Recorder of Deeds office at the settlement table. Okay, so if you're buying property or selling property, of course that conveyance of title is performed, and we are an attorney state, so the lawyers are ensuring that the requirements that are outlined in the Delaware Code are adhered to, but at the same time to ensure the consistencies within the document, so this way the conveyance of title is accurate.
Okay.
Another way, of course, would be if you had to create an easement, or an easement had to be changed, or you had a tax ditch which is part of your property. These documents would be filed under miscellaneous. And then, of course, there's some that believe when they enter into a marriage, and depends on whether or not you want to have a prenup, okay, well, the prenup's recorded in Recorder of Deeds office also. But most of our, like I said, most of our records that we record are our mortgages, assignments, satisfactions, and deeds. We also record the commissions that if you were appointed to a commission through the state of Delaware, that document would be recorded in the Recorder of Deeds office. And up until 2007, we had the DD-214s, which are the honorable discharges. And that was something that I worked on getting amended, having the Delaware Code amended, so now the gatekeeper for all the DD-214s for our servicemen and women are now in the Veterans Affairs Commission in Dover. And the reason why we wanted to do that is because the Social Security numbers are on these documents, and any document in the Recorder of Deeds office is public access. So we wanted to ensure and protect the servicemen and women from identity fraud. So we had the servicemen and women's records transferred through code, and now the Veterans Affairs Commission is the gatekeeper.
Well, that sounds great. I see you brought your department's revenue and expenditure chart. Could you please describe a little bit of that for us?
I sure can. Thank you. Melody, as you can see, the Newcastle County Recorder of Deeds revenue expenditure chart is from 2007 through 2014. And of course, what the chart conveys is it actually gives you the black bar is what the amount of revenue that's been generated in Newcastle County from 2007 through 2014. The red bar is actually what our operating budgets were approved for during each fiscal period, and the blue bar actually determines what the row office, the Recorder of Deeds office, actually spent for that period of time. And as you can see that the blue bar is definitely less than the red bar, meaning that we've been a good steward of your tax dollars. Now, since I've been your recorder in 2002, I have charts from 2003 up until current, and every year I reproduce a new chart once we conclude that completed FY period, which 2014 will end at the end of June of 2014. So one of the things I wanted to definitely establish, and this is something that we're going to be, I have on my website, but I'm actually sitting down with our IS department and creating that open government part of our platform that actually will make it a little bit easier for our constituency to read, okay? Because I want to add some narrative to better explain what they're looking at. Because how can you be transparent in government unless you provide the information in a way that is easily interpreted? So here's the expenditure revenue chart, and I hope that the citizens of Newcastle County can see that not only their tax dollars are being spent wisely, but conservatively.
Absolutely. And I see it says here that you've reduced your budget by 10% and in return $1.1 million back to county general funds since 2002. How did you do that?
Well, I think back in 2005, under, I guess it was right around the end of 2004, 2005, Tom Gordon's chief financial officer, Ron Morris, had approached me, and he says, Mike, I got a proposition for you. I said, I'd like to see us help grow the IS department. And what better way of helping the IS department grow if they can provide the customer service that you're looking for? Because at that time, I had an RFP for looking for a new vendor. And back in 2005, most of the Recorder of Deeds offices throughout the country, they have vendors. So it was kind of unusual for us to partner with our county government. And that speaks volumes because not only did they create the partnership, through the partnership, create the customer service that we were looking for, but they also helped reduce the budget by reducing costs. So one of the caveats that I had explained to our CFO was that I would be pleased, and I'll definitely want to see if we can get this partnership to work. And if they can provide the customer service that I think the industry deserves, then we created something special. But the caveat is that I would prefer maintaining those budget dollars that I have allocated for a vendor, they would be retained and maintained in my budget. And then, of course, I would give the money back over a period of time. And that's how we were able to return the $1.1 million through 10% of my budget is made up of contractual services and intergovernmental. And we reduced the cost from $650,000 that was in the budgets before 2005 down to $250,000 today per year.
Well, that's really very amazing.
Thank you.
What would you predict for the 2015 fiscal year?
Well, I had my office administrator, Ed Dale, crunch some numbers for me, and of course, the market, the real estate industry, even though I believe that what's happened over the past year and a half, the constituency that looking at refis had taken advantage of the lower interest rates, and that's kind of bottomed out now. So even though we generated $6.1 million in revenue last year through fees, that's not counting transfer tax, that we collect for the state of Delaware, Newcastle County, and most municipalities in Newcastle County. And that's projected to be around $24 million this year. We're looking at probably somewhere in an area of around $4.5 million in revenue. And really, it's what the industry bears. So the economy pretty much, even though the market has picked up somewhat, the revenue that we're generating through fees will drop probably by $1.5 million for the FY 2015 period.
Wow. Can you talk about the technology fund you implemented with Newcastle County's approval?
Sure, that's my baby doll. Back in 2005, I asked some questions with my senior staff in regards to when the last time fees have been increased. And 1987 was the last time any of the fees have been increased in the Recorder of Deeds office. So I sat down with the county executive and we talked about increasing specific fees, but I figured this would be a great opportunity to create a technology fund. So this way the Recorder of Deeds office will be self-efficient. And the fact of the matter is that it would create a cash cow, so generating revenue, that what's happened over time is that for every document that's been recorded in the Recorder of Deeds office, $1 goes to the technology fund. Over time, that $1 has generated over $800,000 today. And of course, that technology fund has not only benefited the Recorder of Deeds office, but many of the other departments that we have in Newcastle County.
I was actually going to ask, where does the fund stand now?
Actually, the fund balance is right around $250,000. We did have the Public Safety Department is looking to feature the new NC4 Street Smart. And we have agreed to fund the very first year of the NC4 Street Smart, which is a complement to the TAPS program. It actually will provide the detectives and officers with not only just-in-time information, but it's when you say smart, you look, and I always like to, when I watch the CSI programs, okay, you see the smart screens and how the information is projected, and not only that, but the benefits that it provides. Because what happens, Melody, if you reduce crime in a development over time? Property values go up. So the big picture is that here that it has a positive impact, and it could possibly over time help the real estate industry by not only creating more transfer tax dollars for our county government, but also raise the amount of revenue that we generate from our fees.
That is interesting. Please tell us about the dynamics behind electronic reading.
The electronic recording. Back in 2005, the Minter administration passed Title 25, which is the statutes for the 3 Recorder of Deeds office to create the requirements for uniform standards. And I became the Recording Commission chair in Newcastle County back in 2010, And I met with my counterparts along with the Secretary of State could appoint 2 at-large members, which he picked the archivist for the state of Delaware and his chief deputy. And of course, in December 2012, we adopted uniform standards for all 3 counties for the industry. And what e-recording does is it gives our primary business organizations, the law firms, the lending institutions, a third alternative in recording their document. They could continue to walk in their documents, they could mail their documents, or now they have a third alternative, electronic recording. So that also creates a paperless environment. So if they wanted to record an assignment, at this current time we're recording 2 doc types electronically, assignments and satisfactions. And of course those primary business organizations that are utilizing that are seeing that their documents are recorded within minutes. And of course, what does that do for the Recorder of Deeds Office over time? I'd say within the next 5-10 years, we'll be seeing a majority of our documents that will be recorded electronically. So that saves in paper, it saves in postage, it saves in ink, and it means we no longer have to scan those documents into the imaging retrieval system because they're coming over electronically.
Wow, that really sounds great. And that's just about do it for today. Well, thank you so much for coming today, Mike, and I hope to see you again soon.
Well, thank you, Melody, for having me, and hopefully in the near future you can have me back so I can definitely share with the citizens of Newcastle County about the 5 focal points of education.
Absolutely, that sounds great.
Thank you very much.
Well, that wraps up this edition of Spotlight on Newcastle County. Thank you for watching, and please keep it tuned here to NCC TV for the best news in the best county. Thank you very much. This is Melody Kitchen. Have a good night.